So much going on in this transfer window, and as usual, Chelsea spending a lot of money. In fact, over £250 million already, James. Are they done?
It's been an eye-catching summer, hasn't it? They've done plenty of business, and they want to sign two more forwards in the form of Alejandro Garnacho from Manchester United and Xavi Simons at RB Leipzig. In talks to sign these two players, discussions are ongoing. There are good relationships between Chelsea and Manchester United, and Chelsea and RB Leipzig. They've already signed the likes of Liam Delap, João Pedro, Jamie Gittins already in this window, but there will be more signings. But at the same time, Chelsea were fined by UEFA in July for breaching financial rules. They've agreed with UEFA to balance their transfer spending this summer. So basically, they can sign players, but they can only sign players if by the end of the summer they have a positive value. So they're not inflicting or going against any of the rules whatsoever. So they have to have a positive value by the end of the summer. And that means there is going to be plenty of sales between now and the 1st of September.
So who's on their way out of Chelsea?
So many names. I'll rattle through them. Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall. Looks like he's on his way to Everton. Everton and Chelsea have agreed a deal that's worth £29 million, including performance-related add-ons. We reported earlier that Fulham had been looking at Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall earlier on in this transfer window. Looks like he's on his way now to Everton.
It's not worked out for him there, is it, at Chelsea?
Yes and no. I mean, we thought it would, didn't we? Because Enzo Maresca was his manager at Leicester City. Didn't probably get the opportunities he was expecting to get. But there's so many players at Chelsea that he's going to compete with. And at the start of the window, he wasn't one of those names that we expected to leave Chelsea. We thought that he was going to stay. But given the number of players that they've bought and the interest that has been generated in him, Chelsea probably reluctantly have accepted this deal with Everton. Armando Broja. He's still a Chelsea player. He's another player who could be on his way out of Stamford Bridge. Burnley remain in talks with Chelsea over a deal for the striker. There's a broad agreement, we're told, on many aspects of this deal. It's just the structure of that deal that needs to get ironed out between the two clubs. Personal terms over a 5-year contract, we believe, are not expected to be a problem. And there seems to be a willingness from the player and both clubs to get this deal over the line.
Does he score enough goals for clubs to be interested in him?
He had that fantastic period, didn't he, with Southampton, particularly in the first half of that season on loan for Southampton, which has carried quite a lot of weight. That's shown he has been able to score goals in the Premier League. He's had terrible injury problems, though, and probably hasn't had the run of games that he would have wanted. If he can get a fresh start and move away from Chelsea on a permanent basis, maybe that might help as well. Give him a home, give him a bit of stability that he knows he's going to be at a certain club for a certain amount of time, with a manager and a club who are going to say, you're our main guy, we want you to start every single game. So maybe that will help someone like Armando Broja to really kickstart his career again and maybe show the form that he did when he played for Southampton. Burnley aren't stopping there with regard to Chelsea players either, because they are close to signing Leslie Ugachukwu. That permanent deal is now agreed. He's agreed a 5-year contract in principle. We think in the next 24 to 48 hours, Ugachukwu will have a medical. They're not the only players who are potentially leaving Chelsea. Mark Guiu, we were speaking about last week, he was supposed to have a medical at Sunderland. I think the flight got postponed, but Keith Downey, our reporter up in the North East, said that hasn't impacted on the deal at all. He is still expected to join Sunderland, and they're also listening to offers for Raheem Sterling, who was on loan at Arsenal last season. He's come back to Stamford Bridge for now, but clearly is not part of the plans under Enzo Maresca, and Carney Chukwuemeka as well. There are a few German clubs who are interested in him.
That's a load of players. Do they have to do that? Do they have to offload these players?
You know what? Financially, they'll probably want to do it just to put themselves in a good position for future transfer windows. But I think just for squad size more than anything else, Chelsea won't want to work with a squad where they've got a set of 20 to 25 players on one side of the training pitch and a load of other players who aren't involved away from the main first team squad. So I think Enzo Maresca will want to work with the squad that he knows is going to be available for him every week.
Yeah, absolutely. James, Dharmesh mentioned Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall. What's the latest on him?
Well, things are looking slightly better for Everton now. We spoke last week and David Moyes was very unhappy, wasn't he, on the US pre-season tour, because he said players are turning down Everton. They don't want to sign for Everton. He wants to sign up to 10 players in this transfer window. So it looks like Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall will be on his way. Tyler Dibbling, less sure. Everton have had another bid rejected by Southampton for Tyler Dibbling. So impressive in the Premier League, his first season in the Premier League last season. There's plenty of interest in this player. We understand this was a really significant bid Everton put in, £35 million plus £8 million in add-ons. Southampton now relegated to the Championship. They start their campaign this weekend. They value him at £45 million. So you wouldn't think Everton are too far off. You'd imagine Southampton want a bit more money guaranteed rather than having that £8 million in add-ons. It remains to be seen how high Everton go if they go back in with another bid. We know Everton are desperate to get players in. So much enthusiasm ahead of this new season in a new stadium, but the squad isn't quite there. Yes, they have signed players, but 11 players left in the summer, either in terms of transfers or the end of their contract. So Everton need to do business. David Moyes wants players through the door. This player could light up the Premier League next season in an Everton shirt. Plenty of work to be done. Will they go back in with another bid?
Yeah, we'll see. We know that Pep Guardiola wants a small squad, but actually he's got a massive squad at the moment. So we're looking at outgoings. As soon as we find out, we'll let you know. But you've got news of a player who's staying for a bit longer.
Ruben Diaz, what a time he's had at Manchester City so far since signing in 2020. He's done the treble. He's picked up so much in the form of silverware domestically and in Europe, and he's close to agreeing a new deal with Manchester City for a contract extension. He's got 2 years left on his deal, but he's close to agreeing a new deal. So his deal currently set to expire in 2027. And you mentioned City having a massive squad. Just merely speculating here, looking at the options they have right now, Manuel Akanji, John Stones, Nathan Ake, Josko Vardio, who probably will play as a centre-back this season, with Ryan Aït-Nouri coming in at left-back. You'd think there may be a departure in that area of the pitch, but Ruben Diaz certainly isn't going anywhere.
Did you mention John Stones in that?
Yeah, John Stones, one of those players as well.
Absolutely. Darmish, you were talking about Burnley a bit earlier. We know they've lost James Trafford. Any news on a new number one?
Yeah, they sold James Trafford, didn't they, back to Manchester City for what they believe is a British record for a British keeper. £31 million, even though City only outlaid £27 million. A bit of confusion.
Don't get into that one now.
Yeah, no. So I'm still talking about that in my sleep, if I'm being honest. But the primary target now has emerged for Burnley for a goalkeeper. That is Martin Dubravka from Newcastle United. Interesting, isn't it? Because Newcastle and Manchester City were both after James Trafford, and the two keepers that Burnley were looking at were Stefan Ortega and Martin Dubravka. Well, talks with Newcastle over a permanent deal are progressing, I'm told, and going in a positive direction. He has entered the final year of his contract, and they see him as the perfect replacement for James Trafford. So it could be a busy week, this one, for Burnley. We know that clubs like Sunderland and to a lesser extent Leeds United are going for it, of the promoted teams. Burnley could have as many as 3 signings this week if it all goes well. Martin Dubravka, Armando Broja and Leslie Ogashukwu.
I'm just being told you've got a line from Liverpool, James.
It's in terms of an outgoing. Tyler Morton, he's completed his medical at Lyon ahead of a completion of a £15 million move from Liverpool. If that deal is complete, then that would make it more than £200 million in terms of player sales Liverpool brought in since the start of last summer. And that explains why they are able to be aggressive in this transfer window. And that explains why they do have the money to spend if they want to go for Alexander Isak.
Indeed. All right, a line from Wolves you've got as well.
Yeah, Gonzalo Guedes, he's heading to Spain to complete a move to Real Sociedad. The two clubs agreeing a fee of £5.2 million. He's set to undergo a medical in Spain and finalise personal terms. He signed from Valencia in 2022. It's been a fairly successful spell at Wolves. 2 years left on his contract. Wolves understood to be pretty happy with the deal. I think they're happy because they've just signed John Arias from Fluminense. I'm so excited to see him play for Wolves this season. He was one of the standout players at the Club World Cup. He's going to create plenty of chances. I'm not saying he's the next Matheus Cunha, but I've got very high hopes for him.
We've got a little bit of time. I want to talk Newcastle again. It seems really tough for them. A really rich club. They've got a bit of money, can't bring players in. Why are they struggling to get players up to Newcastle?
There's a number of players they've gone after in this transfer window. And the first thing to say is 3 years ago, they wouldn't have been targeting these type of players, the likes of Dean Huijsen, the likes of João Pedro, Brian Mbeumo. Every player situation is different. Sometimes it will be a financial point of view. Sometimes it's a family situation about where these players want to go. We'll get right stuck into it at 7 o'clock. But I think the fact they're in the market for these players is really encouraging. But the reason these players don't want to go to Newcastle isn't a case of actively not wanting to go to Newcastle. It's the fact they've had the opportunity to go to other clubs, the likes of Brian Mbeumo. Players have got egos. He wants to be the player to take Manchester United back to where they were. João Pedro, he wants to join a side where he thinks he can win domestic silverware. Perhaps he feels that Chelsea are more likely to win the Premier League in the next few years than Newcastle. I think we shouldn't have a go at Newcastle for not bringing these players in because they are trying to attract the very best players. Also some instability there as well at Newcastle because the sporting director, Paul Mitchell, has left the club. Perhaps these players see the project elsewhere as more stable, more exciting. And clearly, because Newcastle are very recent at this level in terms of the last 20 years, they've not been at this very top level. These other clubs have. They can probably offer more wages while sticking within PSR.
But Dharmesh, they've got Champions League football.
They have. I think it's frustrating for Newcastle United fans and the club because their takeover has happened when these financial fair play and PSR rules have come in. So as much as they had the intention to be wanting to spend hundreds of millions of pounds, simply because of the way the rules are set out, they can't do that. So they need to generate their own money, and that's going to take time.
Yeah.
And sometimes players might think, well, I want the finished project now, or do I want to be part of the project that's going to take them back?